Can a nigga live? Can a nigga live? Please. This country sucks.
This is Nick Fuentes. Born August 18, 1998, is a quote American far-right political pundit and live streamer who promotes white supremacist, misogynistic, and anti-Semitic views according to Google. Since 2016, Nick has amassed a cult following of so-called Groypers, a group of alt-right and white nationalist activists, provocateurs, and internet trolls, notable for their attempts to introduce alt-right politics into mainstream conservatism in the United States. Their participation in the January 6 United States Capitol attack and the protests leading up to it, and their extremist views. The Groyper movement has been described as white nationalist, homophobic, nativist, fascist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and an attempt to rebrand the declining alt-right movement. From befriending Kanye West and becoming both the media's and X's worst nightmare, to being banned from nearly every bank in the United States and added to the federal no-fly list, this is the insanity of Nick Fuentes. For those new to my channel, what's good? My name is Clancy. On this channel, I study the art of crash out, so if you're down to hear some insane stories, definitely consider subscribing. Just a quick disclaimer, this video is not a call to action to send hate to Nick Fuentes or his followers, just a documentation of how we've gotten to this point. Let's get into it. Nicholas Joseph Fuentes was born on August 18, 1998 in LaGrange Park, Illinois. A former student of Alliance Township High School, Nick was engaged in social activities, including the speech team and Model UN. Notably, in May 2016, he was one of 4 students invited to welcome Governor Bruce Rauner during his visit to the school, and he personally escorted the governor inside to the stage. It was during his time at Alliance Township that Nick began his career as a television pundit, hosting a series that aired 5 or 6 times. Bill Allen, the supervisor of television services at the school, recalled Nick as exceptionally charismatic and articulate compared to his peers. Following his graduation in 2016, Nick underwent a significant ideological shift, embracing more extreme right-wing views. During a speech that year to an anti-immigrant organization, he expressed a conviction that immigrants were taking jobs away from Americans and threatening the Republican Party's future.
But I thought, I'm sinking all this money, and for what? To come out of school and be displaced by a high-skilled Indian immigrant who's probably here on some kind of visa, but that isn't talked about by the Republican establishment, by Young Americans for Liberty, by Young Americans for Freedom. I really started to see the economics of it when I was in college, because I understood that when I came out in 4 or 5 years, depending on my grades, which were certainly not great. We didn't study immigration in school. I realized that when I was coming out of school in 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to be able to pay all this back, because you have immigrants coming into this country, didn't pay into Social Security, their parents weren't here building the railroads and building the factories. They just sort of washed up on the shores to take advantage of the fruits of the labors of our ancestors. So the economic was a big part of it too.
Despite being a descendant of Mexican immigrants himself, a year after graduating, he returned to Lyons Township for a student show, and Bill Allen noted a marked change in his demeanor, stating, "I think the biggest change was he went from conservative views to very deep to the right." Nick gained national attention during the 2016 election when he was featured in a video at Boston University wearing a red MAGA hat showing his support for Donald Trump, a video that was later deleted by the university. Nick began his streaming career while attending Boston University and soon launched his own television series, America First, on the pro-Trump right side broadcasting network. His bold commentary often included controversial statements, leading to a backlash that resulted in the network apologizing and taking down Nick's show. Later that year, he attended the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, which he described on Facebook as a tidal wave of white identity. However, this event led to the cancellation of his show by Right Side Broadcasting. In search of a new direction, Nick dropped out of college, explaining to the Boston Globe that he felt safer anywhere but in the left-leaning environment of Massachusetts. Subsequently, he utilized various social media platforms to promote his version of right-wing ideology, frequently evoking the Great Replacement theory that non-white immigrants are replacing white Europeans in their own countries, leading to the extinction of the white race, a topic Nick is very heavy on.
So, you said this is our home, right? America. So, the same thing happened to the Native Americans here. They were here first. This was their home. This was their culture. Then Europeans came over. So by your same logic, Europeans are wrong for what they did.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because typically people wouldn't bring up the example of the Indians as somebody. I mean, you're essentially saying like, oh, America's being destroyed, but America destroyed the Indians. It's like, yeah, and you know, and that was a different time, you know, and conquest was still happening, and the world was being settled.
Can't you say today's a different time?
Yeah, I think today we realize that that's wrong. I think
is it
that
inevitable?
Today,
Is it just change? Is it just a natural change of the world?
yeah, in some sense, these are the forces of history. But as an American, I want to fight against that. America rewrote the history book.
Despite these views, Nick has denied being a white nationalist, claiming the term is used by the left to discredit their adversaries. Nick has also faced backlash for his views on women. In Nick's ideal society, women would be stripped of their voting rights and expelled from the workforce.
If you can answer, should women vote?
No, absolutely not. Women should not vote. We should repeal the 19th Amendment. We should take it away. They vote for the wrong candidate every single time. Every single time the women vote Democrat, they vote for the wrong person. They vote for more spending. But above all else, I think that women, we have to look at voting as a position of governance. If you're casting a vote, you're determining who should be in the government. And I don't think that women should be in the business of government at all. I think that government and leadership is a domain of men. And I think, honestly, very few people should vote altogether. I think that it's not just exclusive to women. I think that people that have only been in the country for a generation or two shouldn't vote. I think people that are indigent shouldn't vote. I think that young people shouldn't vote. I think probably people that don't own anything shouldn't vote. And I think, we should get back to a system where a vote is cast really as a representation. I think the vote should be cast by the head of a household. I think that if a woman gets married, her political expression is represented in the vote of her husband, in the vote of the head of the household. I don't think that it's women's position to be in leadership over men, over society. And I think that it's completely outside their domain. So I don't think they should vote at all.
He is also very opposed to gay marriage and transgender rights. Furthermore, Nick has expressed a desire to transform America into a nation dominated by a Catholic media, Hollywood, and government, aiming to escape what he perceives as a Jewish-led coalition controlling these sectors. However, after a few years of openly expressing his ideologies online, Nick's digital presence began to decline. Platforms like Twitch and Reddit banned him for hate speech, and eventually he lost access to numerous social media and consumer services, including Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and more. Nick would blame the ADL as being a participant in his deplatforming. With limited avenues for self-expression, Nick established the American First Political Action Conference, which was designed to provoke another conservative faction for not being radical enough. The inaugural conference featured far-right figures such as commentator Michelle Malkin and white nationalist Patrick Casey. Over the following 2 years, the conference's guest list grew, and during the 2022 event, Nick invited MAGA supporter Rep. Marjorie Taylor to share her controversial ideas. He claimed that his introduction to Marjorie came through his acquaintance, right-wing commentator Milo Yiannopoulos, who would later contribute to a significant controversy involving Nick. Just before Thanksgiving, Donald Trump was scheduled to host a private dinner with Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, at his Mar-a-Lago club. After weeks of phone conversations, Ye arrived with an unexpected entourage, including Nick Fuentes. This meeting sparked outrage across the political spectrum due to Trump's association with Nick. Trump later insisted he was unaware of Nick's background, a statement that Nick later corroborated. Ye criticized Trump for not doing enough to support those arrested during the January 6 Capitol riots, a situation in which Nick was also involved. A congressional testimony given by the U.S. House of Representatives, stamped by the ADL on the attacks, would call Nick a white supremacist leader and organizer and podcaster who seeks to forge a white nationalist alternative to the mainstream GOP, and would also go on to note that Nick Fuentes and the Groypers often present themselves as Christian conservatives. In actuality, the so-called Groyper Army is made up of white supremacists and bigots who present their ideology in a more nuanced terminology than other groups in the white supremacist sphere. While the Groypers' views align with those held by the white supremacist alt-right, Groypers attempt to normalize their ideology by aligning themselves with Christianity and traditional values championed by the church. church, including marriage and family. Fuentes and his followers chose the Groyper meme to represent their ideology sometime in 2019. The meme emerged online in 2017, showing up on various platforms including the anonymous image board 4chan. This was during the height of Pepe the Frog's popularity among the alt-right and the Groyper variation of Pepe the Frog, depicting the character resting his chin on interlinked hands. The Groyper meme was quickly adopted by the people connected with the alt-right, who added Groyper-related images to their Twitter handles and profile pictures. In the aftermath of the Trump dinner, Milo revealed to NBC News that he orchestrated Nick's presence at the dinner to provoke trouble for Trump, while Nick admitted that the incident reflected frustrations with Trump's base regarding his ideological commitments. On October 27, 2022, Elon Musk would buy Twitter, now named X, for $44 billion. Thousands of previously suspended Twitter users, including far-right individuals and those spreading explicit misinformation, had their accounts reinstated on the platform. Among those who recently regained access to their accounts would also be Nick himself. This would allow him to not only have streaming services like Cozy TV and Rumble, but now arguably the biggest platform for independent commentary. This would help him regain a lot of his digital footprint. During the 2024 election, Nick would go live on Rumble to stream his live reaction to the polls. During this live stream, he tweeted out his now infamous comment saying, "Your body, my choice." The post garnered over 90 million views and would absolutely enrage the media and Democrats alike. The phrase gained traction on TikTok, where many female users reported receiving numerous comments saying "your body, my choice" on their posts. On November 8th, the Institute for Strategic Dialogue released a report highlighting the dramatic rise in the phrase usage on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit following the 2024 elections. Additionally, the report mentioned occurrences of the phrase being used in real-life settings, particularly in high schools and colleges. NBC, CNN, and The Guardian, just to name a few sources, would report on the tweet. The users on X would be so enraged by Nick's tweet that they would ultimately dox him, revealing all his personal information and home address to the public, with the original tweet now deleted gaining over 600,000 likes, with one of the users rebuttaling, "Your house, my choice." A user who lived in the area, Marla Rose, a Jewish feminist who took offense to Nick's tweet, would pay him a visit to his home. She would walk up to his front door and attempt to knock on it. Most likely fearing for his safety, Nick was equipped with pepper spray and would allegedly attack Rose for stepping on his property. Rose would end up pressing charges on Nick, now leaving the pending case open to be investigated. We can only wonder what is next for Nick Fuentes. Will the majority end up realizing a potential for Nick, making him a prominent figure in politics? Or will he continue to be silenced and forever wrapped in controversy for his seemingly insane views? I'll let you be the judge. This has been Clancy. Holla at your boy. Peace.